What's up, humans? You're listening to the What is Humans podcast with Shane Strunk and Dennis Kluba. Make sure to follow us on social media, on Instagram at What is Humans Podcast, on TikTok at What is Humans Podcast, and on YouTube at What is Humans Podcast. Today, Dennis and I are discussing Captain Your Own Ship. Enjoy. Hey.
You're listening to the What is Humans podcast with Shane Strunk and Dennis Kluba. If this is your first time listening in, this is a personal development podcast that Shane and I take from our own conversations that we have, and we try and learn a little bit more about ourselves and hopefully implement them into our own lives. And hopefully you too can, take something and bring it into your life at home. And most importantly, we're experts in almost nothing.
What's up, man?
Nothing much. You're coming off of 3 days off of the Salt Lake City Marathon?
Yeah. Coming off the marathon, pretty sore.
Yeah.
Quads and calves were beat up.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to have it done. I did have a goal time, didn't hit it. But, wasn't bringing expectations to the race. So happy it was done. Happy to have gotten through it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, ultimately, I think that works well into what we, are talking about today, which is captaining your own ship.
Yeah.
And kind of the direction that you want to go in, right?
Yeah, totally. So this is a title, a metaphor that we're putting on the idea of bringing, accountability to your goals and maybe journey in your career and your life. Where did this idea came from? I feel like you brought this to me.
Yeah, so essentially it was kind of a combination of thoughts that we put together, kind of Frankenstein together to come up with this topic today. But one of the sides was from Ryan Holiday, who we talk about a lot, who, is an author that writes a lot about Stoicism. He was mentioning about the discipline and direction. Most notably, a quote which was, you have to know what port you're sailing to, or else no wind is favorable. So you have to know kind of the direction that you want to go in, or else you're literally just a spinning ship. There's no... Yeah.
When you told me that, I guess what I related to was just I just related to the post-college experience of jumping into maybe a corporate world, or you're told to get a job, or you're told to do this, and looking around, I think what I did was looked at maybe peers or my sister or parents, friends that I have that are older than me, and just ask myself, what are they doing, and kind of made decisions from there. And I guess I just didn't really have a crystal clear direction. A port to sail to in this term. So I think that's something that in your early 20s, or if you're going through a career change, or you just want maybe a purpose and direction in life, I think this topic is a great question to discuss with yourself, or to discuss with a friend, to think about what you want out of this life. So that was my thoughts coming from this.
Yeah, completely. And then you had brought in kind of a quote that you saw the other day from Gary Vee, which had a similar kind of idea, but said differently, right?
Yeah. This one was basically how can you not win if you're playing your own game? So really that idea is from comparison. I saw it just from, I was upset this weekend about my race. I wanted a faster time, but at the same time, I'm on my own journey for it. It's literally I had to run all those miles by myself. I did the training by myself. So it's this is the path I'm on. This is something that I'm pushing towards. It is my own race. And you have to see that within your own career and life. It's you're not in. I'm not running Dennis's race. I'm not in your job or your situation. I don't know the pains and struggle. And not a life that I should compare to my own.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a reminder and a good question to ask when it comes to being able to captain your own ship, of being able to play your own game and know what game you're playing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that you're completely right, and they work so well together. And I just wanted to bring it back to kind of what you mentioned, coming out of school, but also I think that can trickle over into, we have so many friends now. We're not in our, early stages of coming out of school, but we have so many friends now that are kind of taking that realization of, oh, maybe I'm not doing what I love. Kind of took a job that was a very safe, well-paying job that a lot of their peers, quote unquote, right? People are telling you, oh, they'd kill to work for that company, right? Or that's a great company. Your parents are telling you the same thing. And we had mentioned before the podcast on how safety plays a role, comfortability plays a role into, you deciding what direction you want to go into. When probably that might not be the best deciding factor on what's right for you and your ship or your direction.
Maybe that's the time where you should be extremely risky and bold when it comes to your, I see both. Like I see, like it's important, it is important to make money. It is important to create safety and security and I guess just like have your essential needs met.
Yeah.
Totally. But if there is something that you're passionate for, I think you have to understand that you'll have to sacrifice one thing or another to get to that goal. So there's going to be suffering in any job. There's going to be work, or there's going to be pain in any exercise. There's going to be pain and suffering in anything that you're pursuing. I think it's more of like, how do we choose the suffering that we are willing to suffer for?
Yeah.
The goal that we're willing to work hard for, to fall down for, to get pushed over, get stepped on, whatever for. So that's the I think crux of the question is like what you're willing to sacrifice for. And if you don't know what it is for, maybe you need to explore and try things.
Yeah, I think completely. This is a question for you, and I'll answer as well, but how often, or if you have before or haven't, how often are you looking at your own life and saying like, hey, like doing kind of an envisioning, or, not necessarily to the extent that you need to do a vision board or put things out there, but how often are you kind of like, hey, this is what I want it to look like. This is where I'm at now.
Yeah, not enough.
Yeah, completely.
Not enough. I see it like it's really easy to speak it, I see the value in it. And I've been trying to journal more. Yeah. Definitely.
I've seen that. Yeah.
But no, I think that it's just a habit and a practice that you have to do. It's like, how can you each week reflect on where you are, within your goals? I've been able to create pretty good discipline. I'm passionate about running.
Yeah.
So I've been able to do that for my goals there. But when it comes to like my professional goals, I want to build more clarity around that. So maybe it is that vision board planning, or it's the reflection of where you are within those goals.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think that running is such a good, kind of like to use in this format because, your first marathon that you did, and also kind of having this dream goal to run 50 marathons, one in each state, it just feels so, it is set. You know what I mean? And I think that it kind of comes back full circle to how you felt about your race this weekend, initially being disappointed, but then also knowing that, like, there are other people that have run 50 marathons, one in each state, but you're not looking around comparing yourself to those people.
No.
It's more like, hey, like, this is where I'm going. I know what the end goal is.
Yep.
And this is just one of 3 now. Right. You're like, hey, didn't do as well as I wanted to, but I'm moving towards that, checking one state off at a time.
100%. Yeah.
So I think that that's where in our lives, most of us, and myself included, don't have like a 50 states, 50 marathons goal that we should have to say, hey, today wasn't great. Maybe didn't do as well as I wanted to, but I know that I'm closer to the overarching vision,
Yeah, I guess that's the port I'm sailing to.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that is like it's a big goal. It's something that, on my first marathon, I stepped into the elevator and there's this 55-year-old man that gets in the elevator. Me and my mom are in there.
Yeah.
And he's like very fresh, like asked me if I ran, like asked me what floor. He's like, my mom asked him, like, did you run too? Of course he did.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I just completed my 50th state. And seeing him so like fresh and limber, and I'm over here just in pain, barely walking.
Yeah.
Just was that inspiration. But if we can find ways to find something we're passionate in, to have a direction, in our lives, I think is very crucial. And then use that, momentum to like start checking off boxes, to start pursuing the goal, no matter how large or small it is.
And I think it's good to clarify that, especially when you're talking about your job or your passions, or, if it's maybe how you see your family life, or, like, okay, this is kind of the dream that I have, vision, is that a lot of these things you don't have to give up entirely one thing to achieve the other, right? I mean, you having this big goal in running and fitness didn't mean that overnight you're like, well, I got to quit my job because I love running so much, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing as if you know that, maybe the thing that I really want to do for work that I'm really passionate about is XYZ. Okay, then you got to plan and know that, all right, when I get done with my 9 to 5, which I'm okay with, it's fine. You got to know that requires the next 5 to 9 in order to someday maybe get there and start checking off those states, those 50 boxes. I got to put in the work, right?
Yeah, you have to do them. You have to do and I think that is a great example from a career standpoint or professional standpoint, is like, what will it take to be the person that is doing that job?
Yeah.
What will it take to, maybe you want to be, your own creative director.
Yeah.
So like maybe you want to build your own businesses. I know you've talked about this.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be doing the job of building businesses or building brands. So it's like, how do we, when it comes to a goal, almost reverse engineer it from there, of like, okay, what are they doing? What's the life like? What's the behaviors? What's the actions? And then work backwards from there on that big goal.
Yeah.
And start living it, instead of hey, one day the stars will align. The job will show up in my lap. The person will show up in my lap. The marathons will just get done. The miles will be run for me. No, it's like,
so good.
How do we do it backwards? When it comes to a big goal and putting a plan in place from there.
Completely, and I think that is something that you hit on that when we get into the house, I think will be really important. But as far as captaining your own ship and maybe not comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing when you get out of college, or how everybody else is at when you're 30, or, somebody else has a family and they're married. It's like, you got to captain your own ship. But a lot of those things that we're talking about right now, because it's so easy to do things that are either driven by money, monetary reward, or in the majority of people, the scary part about captaining your own ship is that a lot of times you're doing something that a lot of other people haven't done, or you're trying to. And so there's nobody with you in the ship beside you that's like, oh, you're going this way? Yeah. Me too. And that's scary to go anywhere semi-alone.
It doesn't, and what you're saying doesn't mean that no one has done it.
No.
It's like there's people in, say, in industry or in life that like have taken their own path that you can use as satellite mentors or literal mentors. You can ask for help on how you got there. But you're saying is like, when you're looking at, when you're sailing, for example, and you don't have a direction, you're going to default to those two options of what makes money, what's going to keep me safe, and what's everyone else
Where's
doing?
everybody going? Yeah, I guess I'll go in the same spot as they are because it looks like they know what they're doing.
Yes, exactly.
But a lot of times you could stray so far away from, man, I really wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Or try, at least, and
we talked a lot about, I guess, when it comes to like our experiences within this and maybe the reverse engineering. What if we don't have a clear direction? I guess we didn't really answer that very well.
Yeah, if you don't know what you want to do, you don't know. And I think this is the part that almost frustrated me the most in a good way about this topic is that I was thinking back on. I was thinking about college, and I was thinking about, I think that people have this idea in their mind that in college you kind of find out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Or who you want to be or something like that. There's some kind of discovery period.
Yeah.
And I just don't think
that.
I don't think that's very true. I think that you find out pieces about yourself, but I think that really you have to, like, when I was coming out of school, like you said, no one was really asking me, and I wasn't asking this of myself, so I don't put this on anybody but myself, is,
Quit blaming, man.
Yeah. is, what do I actually want to do? Like, what is the thing that I like doing? And for me, a lot of the thing that kind of came out later, and which I came back to now, is my senior year, I stopped playing soccer and I started doing improv. Mm-hmm. And that was something where you said, like, what if you don't have a direction? Mm-hmm. I had never done that, but I took a risk and tried something that none of my friends had done.
Totally.
I didn't know anybody that had done it. And I was like, let me just do this. If I don't make it, like on the team, you had to try out or whatever, I'm like, no, I'm not worse for wear. Mm-hmm. But when I did that, I discovered, I like being creative, entertaining people, thinking on my feet. Mm-hmm. And then circle back 4 years later, I'm an art director in a field that people never could have seen me doing that in college.
No. Yeah, so. Totally. It's like that experience of your senior year of taking that risk of trying something completely new, mm-hmm. I guess allowed you to, post-grad, early in your career, take a risk to go back to school to pursue something that interests you more. Yeah.
And I think that we talk about this so much, but this topic, it's so true, is that you have to, especially when you don't know what direction you want to go, you have to lean into things that scare you. Mm. And in the beginning, those things will seem so big. For me, trying out for the improv team. For somebody else, that could be going to a pottery class. That could be going to like a workshop on networking or going whatever.
To a class or doing a cold email to someone that inspires you.
And then when you do take that leap 2 years later, or a year later, whatever, 6 months later, you're going to look back and say, that was so not scary compared to what I'm doing now. And
right.
Because I reached out to this mentor who's like, hey, you thought cold emailing me, we're going to be going up to 50 people a week, 50 people a day on reaching out, getting new business or, talking to clients, talking to students. And it's just that first thing you got to try.
That's part of growth. That's part of change.
Yeah. But it's so easy to not, you want to stay in the ship.
It goes back to that safety.
Yeah.
That safety or the money. What's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the hows on how we can focus on steering our own ship, captaining our own ship.
Yeah. I really like that example of taking risk or kind of leaning into fear. Mm-hmm. I think that must be a how.
Yeah.
One of ours. I don't know where we want to put it within. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the end. Maybe it's the middle. I think the idea. I think the idea of trying new things when you don't have any direction is really important. Mm-hmm. Of just following your interest, following your curiosity, of following what scares you, or following whatever it is. Maybe it's just trying new things is overall. Mm-hmm. I think something that is a great step in order to figure out your direction.
Yeah. I think to start, one thing that we can do is because we typically kind of follow the same thing, reflection and then maybe planning and then action, which I think will come with taking that risk, leaning in. But the first thing, and this is a quote that gets thrown around a lot, but what if it turns out even better than you could have imagined? So I think that we have to start, it's this idea that, remember in high school or in movies, people the daydreamer kid, that's bad student, not paying attention. think of your life, you have to daydream about your life. To have to daydream and envision, okay, my amazing, perfect life, what could that be? Is that getting to the finish line of 50 states and, running all these marathons and being a running influencer where somebody's paying me to, and that's my job, and it's coaching people? Or is it, hey, I always wanted to be this chef and I could see myself on the cover of the magazine creating new, recipes for people. But once you start there, and part of that discovery comes with, okay, you got to try some things to learn what that daydream looks like.
Totally.
But you got to kind of see what that person looks like and who they are.
I love that.
To get on the right track.
Yeah. I love that idea of daydreaming or dreaming big.
Yeah.
That way you can at least have maybe something that is just going to drive you, or just a lofty goal that you can set.
Yeah.
I think from there, I think we should do that reverse engineering exercise of what does that life look like? What does it take? What are the behaviors? What are the actions? And then doing the life that you're trying to do. It's like if you are trying to be, a singer.
Yeah.
You have to be singing and writing your music, writing new songs each week, performing, putting your music out there, practicing constantly.
Yeah.
So it's doing the behaviors of the job or life you want to live.
Yeah. And I think that part of that, and this is something that, and this is at least in my life, because that is the best part 2, step 2 that you can do. And something that I feel like we can lose our fire. Like when I was coming back out of COVID, I was looking for my new job in creative. Big time. I had a plan, was reverse engineering. But once you get to that step where maybe you're not as fulfilled, you got to commit to do it again. Reverse engineer. Okay, the next thing I want to do is let's do the process over again. It gets so easy to you made it and then be like, all right, I'm comfortable, I'm safe. But we got to keep the next thing,
Yes. I think a great final how, which I think gets back to our theme of captain your own ship, is really understand that it's your own race. It's your own life. You should not be living in the comparison world of where someone else is from a money standpoint or from a success standpoint or from whatever standpoint, all these external things that we're trying to validate within ourselves. You're your own individual on its own path within your career, relationships, etc. And you should just be focused on you. And you'll be attracting the things that your life, what's meant for your life. So I think that's a good reminder. Crucial when you are pursuing that goal after you've dreamed big and you reversed engineered that life you want to live. Remind yourself that it's your own ship, your own life you're living, not another's life.
They're never going to be you.
No.
So you got to live your life because, Mary or Stephen or Joseph, they're never going to be Shane or Dennis or whoever's listening, at home.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So why are we talking about this today, captaining your own ship?
Yeah, I think that for me, it's like I was building towards this goal of this race. And I think it was a reminder to myself of, it is my own race. It is my own life I'm trying to live. It is my own goals and career and relationships that I'm focused on building.
Yeah.
So if I, don't reach a goal, or if I don't hit a peak, or, if I don't feel satisfied, I need to remind myself that it's my own cup to fill. It's my own life and race to live, instead of the expecting validation from another or living in that comparison world of where I should be.
Yeah, it's great. I think for me, it's similar in that it's a lot about agency. Being frustrated in certain segments of life, whether that's work or that's your passions or running. For me, it's when you're an adult, no one's coming to make your life better or worse. It's hey, if you want to have this better life or be closer to that daydream or, closer to captaining your own ship, you have to be the one that reverse engineers and takes the steps towards it. And it can be really hard to kind of accept that ownership. But once you do, it's exciting to know that you are the captain and it's not someone else deciding or controlling your fate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. Let's do a quick recap.
Yeah. Today we talked about captaining your own ship. We talked about kind of where that came from, starting with, Ryan Holiday talking about, you got to have a port or direction in mind or else no wind is favorable. And then we also kind of talked about, Gary Vee, and you can never compare someone else when you're playing your own game.
How can you lose when you're playing your own game?
Completely.
And really this just brought us down a path talking about goals that we had, experiences we've had, post-college, early career. And some themes that kind of just came up was just around creating agency, finding a direction, how important that is, and then sticking to that direction when you have it.
Mm-hmm. Completely. Then we got into a little bit of the hows. First, we kind of started talking about this idea of daydreaming about your life and, looking out and being like, okay, what do I see? What does that look like? And then the second step of that is really reverse engineering from maybe the few or the many people that have done it before you,
Yeah. Think about how that would be. What behaviors and actions do I need to take? What life do I need to live?
Yeah.
What things do I actually need to do to be in that position that I dreamed of?
Completely.
And then our third was really just a reminder that you're on your own path. You are your own person. It's your own ship that you're steering. You can't be comparing another person's boat to your own. No. How much money someone else has versus yours. It's your own unique path that you have to live, your own game that you're playing. And if you can focus on that, you'll find that success.
Completely. And then finally, we talked about the whys. I talked a little bit about creating more agency and understanding that in order to be the captain of my own ship, I'm the only one that can kind of steer that boat, and kind of taking ownership of, I have to be the action person to make that happen. And mine was similar. It was just a reminder for me that it's my own path, my own game that I'm playing, and I have to play that, not someone else's, in order to live that. Completely. And I think that wraps
another week of
What is Humans. Thanks, guys.